Oh, 1, 2, 3. We are not live. We are not live. I nearly sang "We Are Live" then. That would have freaked us out. Hello, lovely Gary.
Hi.
Hello, lovely YouTuber. How are you? Nice to have your company, Gary, and you lovely YouTuber. Here we are with our tea time tutorial. Tea time tutorial. I've got a bird flying. I like birds. I find them very spiritual. Yeah, tea time. We're here, Gary and I. Gary's going to teach me something today and teach you at the same time. If you are new, we would love to have a little like, a little comment. We'd love you to subscribe to the channel because we do load content every single Friday. And if you hit the little bell, you'll get a notification. Crafty Monkeys have just loaded content, and then you can jump on and have a play with us. So that's that done. So lovely, Gary. I believe today that something is getting very fishy, apparently.
It's rather a fishy tale within today's project. So yeah, that's what we're going to be doing later on. We're going to create some fishies on a fishing line.
Lovely. Okay, well, that's that. But before we do that, we always do a little bit of mindfulness, whereas I throw something out to Gary and then we talk about it. But if you want to ignore all of this, where we have a little chat about the meaning of life, the time code is below for you to get straight into the art exercise. So you may leave if you want to start doodling. And if you are leaving to doodle, we'll see you over there in a second. Bye. But if you stay with us, we're going to have a chat. So, lovely Gary, my thing that I'm just going to say today, it's actually a quote from one of my favorite films. I don't know if you've seen it. It's called Trains, Planes and Automobiles. So the character Dell says, oh, you know, I just like to go with the flow, like a twig on the shoulders of a mighty stream. And it's something that my husband, because he loves the film as well, is always saying to me. If I'm having a stressful moment, I'll go, just let it flow like you are a twig on the shoulders of a mighty stream. He talks about going with the flow of life. And he says, if you've ever been, you know, kayaking or paddleboarding or whatever, you go with the flow of the river. If you turn around and you try and go upstream, it's much harder. You know, and anybody who's next to you who's canoeing up that stream, it's going to be a lot harder. It's like surfers. They go with the wave. They don't go into the wave. They try and go with the wave and get that flow. Thoughts, Gary?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. One of the thoughts I just had was, because you know, I living down on the coast, and further down the coast, it's very surf country down there, Wollacombe, Saunton. And I thought to myself, do you know what? I've never met a stressed out surfer, and I've met a few surfers in my time.
Yes.
Do you know what? I think sometimes we are. I don't know if it's ego, or we think that we're invincible and we can change circumstances. We can change a certain rhythm, a pathway that we're on. You know, like sometimes there is these rhythm pathways in life. Oh my God, I'm having a real spate of bad luck, or everything's going wrong. We start thinking, well, I can change that. I can go and get into it, and I can go upstream, like you say, and change it all. No, just go with it. See what's happening, see where it's going, because in fact, where it's actually leading you to is probably a much better place where you're trying to swim upstream to get to, you know? So go with the flow. Yeah. I'm not saying that you can't make slight, you know, if you see something that's really obvious and it's easy to change, but when you try and change it and it's still wrong, then I would just go with it. That would be my philosophy, really, rather than thinking you can change the world and change your own life path. I think that's sometimes what we think we can do. And actually, where we're going is probably that's definitely the right way where we should be.
Just sit with it. Just go on your little dinghy through your life. Oh, there's a nasty bump. Oh, I've been thrown out of the dinghy. Okay, swim, get back in the dinghy. Okay, let's move on. This is what you have to do. So I like that. So I think we should all keep that phrase. We should think of Del Griffiths in Planes and Trains when he says, I just like to go with the flow, like a twig on the shoulders of a mighty stream. And I like that. I like the idea of a twig. So there you go. That is our mindfulness for the day. If you're having a moment, get that phrase in your head. Think like Del does. Okay, perfect. Shall we do some arts and crafts now? Let's do it. So, so this is my page. Now, normally we have Gary's page on here, but we have a technical issue today, but it doesn't matter because Gary is going to be working at the same time as me and explaining what I'm going to be doing. So you can see my process and you can play along with me exactly as we always do. So Gary, we are beginning with a sheet of paper and a pen.
Yeah.
And what
Yeah.
we're going to do is we're just going to go around and do some loops.
Yes. So you're going to go round the page,
like
create
that.
a loop. That's it. And a loop, then go around another loop. And the loops can be different sizes. That's it. Go
Okay.
all the way round.
Do we
And then
meet
almost at
up?
the bottom. Yeah, you're allowed to meet up and join the lines together.
Okay.
That's it. Fabulous. Right. And if you think, right, every little one of these little loops, these little circles in here becomes a fish. So how, yeah, all of those, how do you make them into a fish? Well, you can let's just work on one of them. And then once we've done one, then you'll see how that comes together.
Okay.
So you've got, yeah, work on that bigger one you've got the side. So at the side, you've got the loop itself. And so you can create a little mouth. So you can, at the top of there, you can just create a little mouth. You can have a little circle for a little mouth, or you could have a couple of like little, almost like a little sort of lips, and you can have a little circle there. He has two little eyes. So we're looking, imagine we're looking down on top of him. We're looking down on top of the fish on this one. So having two little dots for eyes, and then we're going to have just a little, almost just like a little curve behind the eyes as well. So that's his gear. So little eyes and a little curve joining from one to the other. Okay, that's the front of the fish. So now we've got to think about the back of the fish. So where it joins here, this little loop at the back here, at the back of the fish here, that's its tail. And what we can do is just create an almost like little curved shape like that, like a little frill. That's it. Just create a little frill at the back.
Yeah.
Going across. And then you can then create just like almost just like the sections of the tail. So you can just put some little lines which just create the sections of the tail like that. Okay, so that's the back of the fish. Now the fish has both, he's got a dorsal fin, so he's got a dorsal fin on top. So if you're looking down on the fish, the dorsal fin is going to be a little wiggly line that goes like that. But just a little wiggly line on top of the fish.
Okay.
All right, and then he has some little, like almost like little hands, little wings that come out the side. So if you think about little wings that come out the side of the fish, almost like you imagine how the birds did originally come from fish, because they've got all similar types of, but tail feathers, they've got little wings. So there's your first fish. Now this fish could be like blowing some bubbles. So think of some bubbles coming out of his mouth. So just a few little bubbles just coming up through his mouth like that. So it's sort of like annotated him. So he's just coming up through like that. Okay, right. So now we've got all the rest of the fish. Let's do another one. Let's have a look at, let's go to another one. All right. So, nearly done?
Nearly.
It doesn't take long, does it? Just out of those little loops and then just start playing with fishes, which these are all like fishes on a line then. So it doesn't take long at all.
And it's interesting when you get the body shape, it sort of makes you think about their little faces. You can imagine what they're going to be like.
Exactly. So I'm going to just now, what you need to do once you've drawn them all is now's the time to start thinking what you're going to colour them in with. So the choices are that you could, if you've got some watercolours with you, you could just use your watercolour palette. You might want to mix it up. So I'm thinking watercolours and my coloured pencils. So I've got all my coloured pencils with me that I can go in. And again, you know, we're sort of like trying to condense this into a 20-minute thing, but you could spend as long as you wanted to with this. I've got my hair dryer just in case, because I'm going to be using sort of paint, but you don't have to have a hair dryer. You can just let it dry naturally. So once you've gone in and you're quite happy with your picture, don't you? Then you can just go in and then start colouring them in. So thinking about a nice, you know, maybe you're in what am I trying to think? A coral reef. Maybe it's a coral reef. And if, you know, like quite often, if I've picked up one colour, be it a pencil or felt tip, I'm using that, I'm putting some colour on one fish, but then while it's still in my hand, I go to another fish and then I just colour in a little bit on the other fish. So that it sort of starts to have coherence. Because if you just keep going from one colour to the other per fish, you'll find that it's all very multiple, it's all multicoloured, where that's fine. But if you want to give it a little bit of coherence, you might just pick up a color and then just work it around your picture in different areas. And then I'm just picking up some yellow. I just feel orange and yellow look quite nice. So you're going to use felt tips, aren't you?
I'm using felt tips. Yeah. For a change.
For a change. And remember, you're allowed to leave some white bits, so it doesn't have to all be coloured in. You can have some black and white areas as well.
But you see, once again, I know what we're doing is actually very simple. But once again, it's when you're faced with, when you sit there and you think, oh, I just need to escape. Right, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
That's why people used to, when they're on the phone, they would sit and doodle, wouldn't they? And
Yeah,
what would you draw on your doodles? But the thing is, other than just sitting and drawing doodles, what do you draw? And these little exercises that we do are just great ideas to give you a little focus to begin with. Now, once we give you the platform and say, right, this is how you draw your fish, then as we saw, you can draw their little personalities. And then you can start creating
exactly.
And you can imagine in your head, what are they saying to each other? Where are they? What kind of fish?
Now we're really running away. Yes.
Yeah. But
exactly.
What kind of fish are they? Etc. And once again, what this does is it takes you out of yourself for 20 minutes. And that's the idea behind all of our tea time tutorials. It's not about teaching you how to watercolor a beautiful, vase of flowers and make them look real. That's a different kind of art. We're talking about mindfulness here. And these are just lovely little exercises for you to have a go with.
Yeah, exactly. It's about more playing and but again, it ends up quite a nice little graphical illustration in a way. And this is you might find that you actually really enjoy it, and it might make you sign up to an art class or something, or do something online with us or whatever, because you've enjoyed what you're doing.
Yes.
And you think, oh, I can do this,
Yeah. I will put a link below because Gary does run art classes with us, and I think we've got one coming up next week, which of course, lovely YouTuber, you might be watching this in 2 years, so that class won't be there. But if you go to our shop, the on-demand shop, craftymonkies.com, which once again I'll put a link to, there are all sorts of lovely classes from Gary that you can download from as little sometimes as £10 or $12, €13. You can buy from anywhere in the world and just have some lovely fun learning something artistic and creative. So always have a look at the platform, because there are all sorts of things happening just like this.
Just like this.
But just a deeper level. If people are thinking, well, I can get this for free, yes, you can. But the art classes take it that little bit deeper.
Yeah. We have a little bit more time.
Yeah. Lovely. Well, there you go. Fishy. I will have a little fishy as a little dishy when the boat comes in. As they say. Perfect. Exactly. Well, that's the exercise for today. Let's bring us back into vision. So there you go, another lovely little exercise. As I was saying during the exercise, this is not about teaching you how to create the most amazing, watercolor piece of art, or work with acrylics, or a, spatula, or whatever it is. This is about giving you exercises to play for 20-25 minutes. And as we were saying, if it was just left to your own devices, you'd have a piece of paper, you'd end up just drawing loads of coils or springs or whatever, just doodling, and then it's quite dull. So every week we try and just give you a little something to play, and I think that's really fun with the fish, because you can create their little personalities. I noticed that, like, I did an eyebrow like this, and suddenly this little fish, which was nice and friendly with his round eyes, became quite, what's going on in the fish pond there. So you could sort of like imagine, as I say, the stories that they're having, and create your own little fish world. So hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please give us a lovely like at the bottom. As I say, we'd love to have you subscribing to the channel. Do have a route around. There's over 30 videos, I think 35 videos now in our tea time tutorial. And of course, there are loads of sewing videos if that's more your thing. But why not do the two? A bit of mindfulness, a bit of sewing, a bit of drawing. But thank you to lovely Gary. I think we can just about manage to see you wave, Gary. We've had freezing issues today from Gary, but thank you so much to Gary, and thank you to you, lovely YouTuber. We will see you in the next one. Go and have a look at what else we've been doing.